All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Monday, the 15th of the month. I'll kind of start the video off with kind of the conclusion of today. Really, not much to go on today. I see a lot of people on Twitter, talking a lot about different names and so forth. But overall, I thought that the activity was not good today, and I'll give my reasons for that. So I'm not forecasting doom or anything like that. I think you just have to be patient, and you don't want. And for me, I did very little trading today. I would rather wait for a little bit of confirmation and wait for some positive price action to show that the institutional, really the big guys and girls, they're coming back into the market, right? They're the ones who are going to support the market. They're the ones who are going to make the market go higher, not small retail investors and chippy size orders. It has to be big institutional order flow that is going to get this market back higher and show that it has support. I did not see that today. I was saying kind of over and over the first couple hours of the day that we just did not have any significant order flow that I thought. I see a lot of oversold buying, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But really, I think we've got some big names that report earnings. Netflix reports obviously tomorrow, so I think investors are some of those bigger institutional funds are waiting, and I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but it's just my thought that the institutional investors before really putting a stake in the ground. I think that they want to see what's going to happen here with some of the first earnings reports. A lot of the option flow that we're seeing, even some of the aggressive stuff, it's around earnings, which could vary every quarter. We see a lot of order flow when the name is reporting a couple days away, or even a couple weeks away, and it's very noisy. You don't know if they're squaring up their book either on the long side or the short side. If they're long a name, they could be buying puts to protect. If they're short a name, they could be buying some out of the money calls, just in case they don't want to have a blowout. In case the name moves the other way from them. So you do see a lot of out of the money hedging in options. So it's very, very noisy. There's not much edge during earnings season in analyzing order flow, other than to get the temperature of what people are doing, and that temperature to me is not good. To see the amount of downside price action that we've had, and to really not see much. There's no major dip buying going on. There was a couple things so I'll go through. So S&P, the other thing, and I'm not trying to criticize anybody on Twitter, but this is pretty easy stuff. We're in value all day long today. So there's no breakout, maybe a false move here, but I don't know why people are jumping the gun and saying, oh, things are looking more constructive. I don't know where people are seeing that. I really don't. This is what we did for the day. We stalled up here. And then we went right back to the bottom of the value area. Notice for tomorrow we are going to have a little bit of for tomorrow's value area, very, very slim. So it could be make or break day for tomorrow in terms of what price does. Keep in mind we had some mixed price action in the overnight markets. China went down pretty hard again last night. I don't really understand why people don't look at this stuff, but if China continues to go down, people are going to start to think that China is going to have major problems. So China has to find a footing, I think, as well, besides earnings, right? I think a lot of people have been coming out and financial media saying, hey, this has been going on all year long. The rest of the world needs to make a move. I don't think the U.S. can carry the ball all by themselves for the whole year. It doesn't work that way. Most businesses have international sales. So, I am, you could kind of hear it through my voice, but I am a little bit more cautious than optimistic right now. The nice thing that did happen today was the DAX finished pretty well today. It went from lows to, I don't think ultimate highs, but it did well. So Europe did well today, and international development did not do that poorly. Although Japan, you could put them in the bucket with China. They were down, I think, 1.8% last night. So these are the things that we need to focus on, not just basically the only just everything going on inside our borders. Because again, most businesses have oversee they do business outside of the U.S. So we don't operate in a vacuum. So I still think it's very important that China is going to have to stabilize. For them going down another 1%. They've been down, I think, out of the last 15 days, maybe had 2 green days. Maybe 3, depending on the Hang Seng or the Shanghai. Let me look at the cues. Same thing on the 5-minute bar. Really, nothing to really give you any confirmation. This is what we did for the cues all day long today. Just chopped around inside value for the day. We actually finished. I don't know if this is going to give us kind of a negative sign for tomorrow. I don't think we're that far, but we did close below value. So not the greatest close. And certainly we stalled out here. We just did not have the power to get through the value area. I'll turn it to IWM. This is one of the few things that I traded today. I traded the break of value and very quick scalping. I'm not looking to hit home runs right now. I'm looking for basically I'm bunting to try to get to first base. So singles, right? I got in here on the first bar outside of here. I was lucky enough to sell on this bar. I got back in. I did a little bit of scalp. Where was it? Here. And then we actually tested, and I said, well, if we hold the value area, then I'll hold it. I did that, and I was able to get back out. I think on this once I saw this red bar turning, I thought we might have a chance to kind of break higher for the day. Unfortunately, not. So IWM finished up 37 basis points. Is this a victory? No. Keep in mind how oversold, right? When you look at the RSI, it's still a 19. So even if this goes up 1% tomorrow, that's just an oversold bounce. That's nothing more than that. You really need to see more follow through, in my opinion. At this point, again, looking at this RSI, which if I move the screen, it's going to change. If I move the cursor, it's going to bounce. It's going to move here. But once I bring it back up here, you can see that it's a 19. So it may very well bounce again tomorrow, which I do hope happens. But balances like this, we've broken the 200-day moving average. We could see a bounce and we could go right back and take out the lows. So I would be more cautious here, and wait a little bit, wait for a little bit more confirmation. So that's the 3 major indices, and then if you look at sectors, right? Sectors, unfortunately, what led today? Pot stocks, gold miners, utilities, consumer staples, and REITs. I'm just looking at things that were up over 0.5% today. Maybe a little bit of energy names as well, solar, icy, but these are not risky sectors. These are risk-off sectors. So that even paints a worse picture. So, again, it's just one day. It's a Monday, but I was really like it. You could tell it's bothering me that people on Twitter are giving people the wrong idea I don't know what they're looking at, their crystal ball. I have no idea. The VIX, same thing. The VIX finished higher for the day, I think, or basically flat for the day. So no major conclusions there. It's still holding the short-term moving averages. So this for me has to close. And again, intraday stuff. I know people are trying to catch that first move, but it's really the closing print is the most important. And unfortunately, we did not have a breakdown. Am I positioned a little bit more? For a move up, yeah. I mean, I'm not, I'm thinking that IWM could bounce. We could get some more small caps to possibly, move up a little bit tomorrow for a quick scalp or for a very quick swing trade. But, I'm carrying very little risk right now. I did very little trading. A couple of things that I saw today, what's nice when the action is very slow is you could really do a lot of chart analysis. I think this Cintas is getting interesting down to the 200-day moving average. Big move down. Let's see if it holds. This thing is pretty oversold. I did do one trade, very small. I didn't even send it out on the private Twitter because it's just really not large enough. But FedEx, I think has moved down to this range. Maybe this thing bounces. This thing is also still oversold at an RSI of 28. Also, if you go to the weekly chart, you'll see that you've got some nice support in here right at this 216. So that's got to hold. But I do like seeing support, or some levels on important levels on two different time frames, and I see that right now in FedEx. I sold a little bit of put spreads just for November. Keep in mind option prices are elevated right now, so buying calls or buying premium right now is very difficult because if we do get the VIX, we're gonna go back to the VIX chart. So you got a lot of moving parts right now. So for example, if the VIX does crush and moves back inside, um, if we this is the weekly chart. That's why. If we do move inside 20 and say back to 16, 15, what's going to happen to your long premium? It's going to get a big haircut because that goes into your option pricing, right? Your Black-Scholes option pricing. One of the components is volatility. When volatility goes down, the price of your options will also do the same. So it's better, and I know it's a harder thing to do right now because you don't want to be catching knives, but that's why I'm looking for some key support to trade options and basically to sell premium. So I put on a bullish trade in FedEx today because again I think it's going to be tough if we get a VIX smash. It's really going to cut into your option prices. So that's the thing that's challenging. And of course, all these names that are going to be reporting earnings this week. Just to look at some of the other VIX instruments, the VIX for the Qs. Keep in mind, I don't look at this VXX or anything like that because those are the worst instruments out there. They may be painting a slightly different picture in VXX, but that thing should decay away to nothing. So really what I look at is what professional traders look at, which is the VIX, the VXN, and you can even look at the RVX. But the VXN is not breaking down here either. Again, this is the VIX for the Qs that actually came back. So again, a little bit troublesome that this is not broken down yet. It does take a little bit of time. We gave a big webinar on Sunday for about 2 hours to really kind of go do some super analysis and really you've got a benchmark. You could look to see what happened back here in February. We did bounce. We bounced quite nicely, but then we came back and we retested. So I think for some trades you have to be pretty quick. There was some nice news from Adobe after the hours. They reaffirmed their guidance. I just want to check to see where that is. That's another name that's on the 200-day moving average. So I talked about your. So look at this. It's back to the open. So that might alleviate some of the pressure that Salesforce and a bunch of names in this space did not perform very well today. This software group, I was looking for this to kind of get out of the woods a little bit. Maybe those Adobe numbers will help, but certainly if you look at any of tech, either semis, software. By the way, I want to talk about SMH for a second, but we didn't see any bounces in any of this tech group at all between software, larger tech. These were all hit pretty hard today. So the S&P, when you look at the performance of the S&P today, down 0.5% because all those defensive areas did well. It's kind of masking where some of the weakness is, and it's in biotech too. So biotech keeps moving down, has not taken out the lows, but this is also could be due for a bounce as well. It's an RSI of 27. So we get a little bit of momentum into the market. I'll kind of leave it on a positive note. Let me just talk about SMH. We saw some November and I think it was February call buying in the SMH ETF. Another one that could get a nice bounce, right? So at this point, that's our trading contest for the month. I want to show this. Where's SMH? February. It's a nice February calls, as well as November's that traded against open interest. But you've got a lot of things that are pretty overbought. So if we get some type of positive news or some institutional buying that happens tomorrow, maybe turn around Tuesday, you could see some things really fly to the upside because they are tech, biotech, semiconductors. These things are really oversold. So you might see a powerful bounce for a day or two if that happens. So that's kind of what I'm looking for tomorrow. But again, I don't need to make crystal ball predictions, and I'll stand ready. And I've got a whole list of names to kind of go over. The pot stocks were very strong today. What is it? CGC, very strong. Also, look at this name, Wingstop, which saw some January 2020 calls. Also made a 52-week high. So there are some things that are starting to wake up a little bit in the momentum names. You can look at the IBD list, which is also the IBD 50 list, which is also very oversold as well. All right, guys, so we'll leave it there. We get something, some kind of buying or something. Again, keep in mind, Netflix reports tomorrow after the close. So if we have another chop day, it might be on Netflix's shoulders. And if they come out with good numbers, you could see a really aggressive bounce. But so that's some things to kind of think about for tomorrow. Again, I think the Adobe numbers were good. Nice to see them come out, and they're up after hours, so that might provide a little bit of relief as well. All right, guys, so that's it for today's video. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.